Hi and welcome back to Mondraker TV. In today's video I'm going to be going through a very black and white comparison between the SX lightweight system from Bosch versus the CX full power system from Bosch. Now as you can see we've got two bikes behind me that are very similar in appearance, very similar in travel, geometry and the rest of stuff, so they're actually coming out of the equation. This is more about whether you should be looking at the full power systems or the lightweight systems, because they offer very different things to you as a rider. This is all about giving you the information so you can make an informed decision about your purchase. Okay, so a quick rundown on what we have here and what to expect in the video. So over my right shoulder, we have a Crafty Carbon RR. Now the frame design on this is very similar to the Sly that you can see on this side. So this one has an alloy rear end, carbon front end, but the same exact suspension configuration and nearly identical geometry. This one does have size specific chainstays, and that really is to get the most from that motor system on there. I'll get to that in a minute. And then on this side, we have the Sly. Now the Sly is full alloy. It is a cheaper bike, but it has the same exact suspension configuration, very similar geometry, and the overall ride of the frame, if you were just to be freewheeling along, is fairly similar. Now, I think it's fair to say, with the advancement in technologies in motor power and the lightness of bikes, that many people are thinking, well, I may as well have a full power bike because the weight of the bike isn't that far different. So this is around 21.5 kilos. This is probably nearer 23 kilos as it is. They're not that far apart really, but it's not the weight itself that makes the difference in how the bike rides and performs on the trail. Weight with an e-bike, to an extent, unless you're going super lightweight, I believe is actually fairly irrelevant. It's more about what the motor can offer and then how the frame chassis itself can perform for you. Now, a lot of people will be thinking with the full power systems, oh, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And I completely see that logic. For me, riding on the full power bikes, whether it's got a 600 watt hour battery or an 800, I always return home with power in there. If I ride with the 400 watt hour that's on this lightweight system, I can deplete that and I have to work harder for my ride. So therefore for me, it works better, but that might not be true for you. Okay, let's take a look at the SX system first. So the motor, this kicks out 55 Newton meters of torque and it will produce at peak power 600 watts. Now that is the same as the full power system. Now in the down tube is a 400 watt hour integrated battery. We call it integrated because it's part of the frame. It's on the inside here. That's why we can make the frame a bit more slender here than the full power options. It does mean it's non-removable. You can remove it from the bike, but it does involve dropping the motor out of the frame. So we class this as non-removable or an integrated design. Touch points on the bike are the same on all of our bikes, whether full power or lightweight. We have the wireless controller by the grips there, super intuitive to toggle through the modes. And then we have the Purion display here, nice and discreet on this side of the handlebars, so it's protected in the event of a crash. You can remove that if you choose to not have a display at all. You can also remove that wireless controller if you wanted and just use the system controller that's integrated to the frame. This has 20% increments in LEDs marked. When they go to half power or 10% each, they turn to white. So it's a real easy way to monitor as you're riding with no distraction the kind of power you have left in that battery. And that goes the same for the full power as well. So let's go back to the motor. 55 Newton meters of torque. So that's quite a lot for a lightweight style system, but still it's not as much as the full power ones. So what that means is your legs are going to have to work harder on the low end power. So you're going to have to be putting more in. That is why this feels more like riding a conventional mountain bike than riding an electric bike. So full power e-bikes are well known for the fact that they could pull you up the climb, or you could put as much in as you want. You've got the flexibility of riding both ways. Yes, you could get this to pull you along up the climb, but the fact is you're just going to sap the battery. Now, one downside with having less torque available to is if you're the sort of rider that rides really steep and really long climbs, if you come to a stop or a standstill on one of those really steep sections, you're going to find it very hard to get going because the torque just isn't there. For me, that is not a problem. And actually, it's actually one of the attractive things about this because I love my interaction. Oh. Oh. A lot harder on the slide with the SX, but I think it makes it more rewarding. I want my legs to hurt a bit, I want my lungs to be burning, I want my heart to be pounding. This can deliver all of those things. I can just ride for further and I can ride faster than before. Add into the equation on here that where you charge the bike through this charge port, you can also attach onto this a range extender. Now that adds a further 250 watt hours, it's called the Power More, and that essentially means you add 65% range to this bike. So I actually think the lightweight systems are incredibly versatile because of what you can do. You can have a lightweight bike that involves a bit more steam from yourself, or you can piggyback the bigger battery on there that slides onto this, which also doubles up as a bottle cage mount, and it looks very neat and tidy when it's on there. Very cool, very intuitive system. And if you want a mountain bike that's an e-bike that feels and responds more like a regular mountain bike, then the lightweight systems really are, there's nothing really that's going to compete with them. The full power ones just will not give you that same satisfaction as a rider. Okay, on to the full power CX system. Now, before I just list off the specs of it, I just want to emphasize a couple of points. So with the SX system, you get one battery size, you get the 400 watt hour, so that is on both options in the slide that we spec. With the Crafty, we've got various different models at different price points, and there's two different battery sizes on offer from Bosch. You have the 600 watt hour or the 800 watt hour. Now we offer the bike in full carbon, which is a lighter frame, and to maximise on that, the three models that are full carbon come with the 600 watt hour. The two models that have the alloy rear end but the carbon front end, we've chosen to put the full power 800 watt hour battery in. This one is the RR with the 800 watt hour. But something to understand that is very cool about this system is Bosch have made the batteries the same exact length, and therefore 800 and 600s are compatible between all frame sizes and options. So it's up to you what you would really like to use on the bike. So we've chosen what works best for the application of those models. Now the removable battery means the down tube is bigger, but it's a removable battery, so you know there is always something to weigh up here. Now the benefits of a removable battery are you can charge the battery away from the bike. For example, if you, I don't know, lock your bike in the garage and you want to bring the battery indoors in the warm, it means you can also keep your batteries in a warmer temperature than the garage. And it also means you can travel, for example, flying by removing the battery, and then you can hire one from a rental service at the other end. So that gives you the option of traveling in different ways than just driving with a van or whatever. And it also means you can have multiple batteries if you wanted to do that. So there's lots of different options available to you with this system. It's slightly more modular than the SX system. You can also benefit from adding on a range extender. If you wanted to, I mean, if you really needed to add more range to a battery that size, you can benefit from that 250 watt hour battery, the same exact one that you can use with the SX system. Mounts in the same way on a supplied cage system that you can also fit a bottle cage to, and it mounts onto the charge port that's just the other side of the down tube here. Now this is the same with any bike that uses the Bosch sort of ecosystem. The only thing that actually stops you doing this is the frame configuration for physical size for that range extender to fit in there. That's really down to your manufacturer, so you have to check if your bike is not a Mondraker, the compatibility to you. Now the motor itself puts out 85 Newton meters of torque, so substantially more than the 55 there. And what that means is low-end grunt. This thing can do some heavy load work. It can take you for a ride up a hill like a tractor, or you can be the pilot and choose to go twice the speed or twice as far, whichever way you want to do it. You can ride this in more ways than you can with the SX, but let's face it, most people that ride the full power ones make the most of the EMTB and the turbo or the boost settings just to really go for the hammer time there. Now this puts out the same 600 watts of peak power as you will get on the SX system, but it's much easier to get it on here. Now something that this can do that no other system on the market of any brand currently has is the low speed control of the torque. It is a completely different thing to any other current system on the market. It enables you to ride very slowly over wet surfaces like wet roots or wet rock, for example, that has very little in the way of traction. and it enables you to have a power output that it won't wheel spin because of the way that it works. You can have a very soft touch and you can still gain this. Whereas on some other systems, and even older Bosch systems, the way that the power comes in, it will surge slightly. There will definitely be like a kick as you pedal. I'm sure people that have ridden full power will know this. And what that means is it's quite likely to wheel spin unless you are very in tune with the bike and able to manage that. This is far easier to manage, and therefore it's a really popular choice by a lot of people out there. Now, of course, you can ride this bike in the same way as you can ride the SX. You could choose to run this on a lower power setting and use your legs more, but the way that that motor works is just so different from the SX that it will never feel quite the same. Yes, this can climb steeper stuff. Yes, you can climb up stuff that's simply not possible on any other system on the market. It's a phenomenal full power system, and if full power really is what you look for from a bike, then really the CX system is phenomenal. It does come back to you as a rider on what you prefer from a bike. Do you like to massage that terrain and, you know, your heart pounding, your head pounding and all those sensations? If you do, and you're a bit more like me, then you might prefer that over a bike like this. Hopefully this has been interesting. You have learnt something here from the systems. Please do, I'm sure you're going to have questions about the bikes themselves and about some of the specs on the motors. I'll jump in on the comments, and if need be, we'll make some more social content around this. But I really want to underline that although the bikes kind of look fairly similar, they're actually quite different in the fact the way that they ride because of the motor systems on there. Now, one final thing I just wanted to say with this is we have size-specific chainstays on the Crafty. It really enables the climbing prowess of this bike. That's really what our designers wanted. We've gone for the suspension configuration on here and the geometry completely around what that motor is capable of. I've seen people ride up stuff. In fact, Danny Milner from MBR magazine was riding up slabs of rock on the launch of this bike in Finale, and he was laughing. He literally did not think he could get up there. Now, I'm sure you can see some of his videos online about his opinions on this motor system and how it works with the back end of our bike. And if you want any more content, of course, from ourselves, there's going to be links floating around in this one. But thanks, as always, for watching. Please use us as a resource. We're here to help you make informed decisions on what you want to buy. Get involved in the comments underneath, and we'll see you in another video soon. Take care. Ta-ra.